Bronx Connect is a faith-based program working to help reduce youth incarceration, most importantly to empower young people to become successful leaders. Joining us now to talk about the organization, we welcome to the show Bronx Connect Director Reverend Wendy Calderon Payne and Bronx Connect Director Tara Brown Arnell, and thank you so much for sharing with us. We talked at the top of the show a little bit about Rikers Island and the closing of Rikers Island by Mayor Bill de Blasio, and there's a lot of talk and some controversy. A lot of people excited, some people feeling like it's a long time coming, other people directly opposed to it. How do you feel?
Well, we have actually been part of the Close Rikers campaign since it began in 2016, and we have been part of this alternative justice movement in New York City, which is really excellent, an excellent community-based movement for 2 decades now. So we were around when incarceration rates were increasingly high, and we were incarcerating, 25,000 people every day in New York City. And so we're very excited to see Mayor de Blasio change his stance and admit that not only can we close Rikers, we really have to close Rikers. There's a moral issue here that men, not even just children, human beings cannot be treated like animals. And those who treat them like animals cannot have impunity for it.
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about what's going on right now with closing Rikers Island, a lot of talk about the finances, the dollars, job creation, things of that nature. Your thoughts?
Well, honestly, when we talk about closing Rikers, one would think that money is not important, but obviously it is. But yes, there is that moral obligation to close an institution that means sorrow, that means death, that means fear to so many families and how it affects them. And now when you talk about money, of course, the city is always talking about saving money. And the closing of Rikers does actually save money. So Reverend Wendy, why don't you address how it saves initially?
So I'm going to encourage all of your listeners, go online and look for the Lippman report. Download it. It's a 146-page PDF. It's got a lot of information. They put, over a year of effort into it. But on page 18, there is a net impact quote. And it says the commission's recommendation would eventually save billions of dollars after approximately 10 years. Once the city has fully transitioned to borough-based jails, the net impact after subcontracting the costs described above would be a benefit of $540 million a year. Mm-hmm. Okay. Additionally, renovating or building 5 small newer jails or a new correctional academy would lead to 7,800 direct construction jobs over 7 years. After 30 years, once all the renovation is done and the new buildings are fully paid for, the city would save approximately $1.3 billion every year into perpetuity. In other words, closing Rikers is a unique opportunity to invest in our future. And if you think about it, right now we're spending more than any city in New York City, right? We're spending $209,000 a year to house a young person in Rikers.
$209,000 a kid.
A year.
Right.
Well, every bed, $209,000 a year. I think Chicago is $65,000 a year. It's obscenely expensive. One of the council members went on the Daily News and he said, the amount of money we spend just shipping young people from Rikers to the courts and the amount of carbon gas we put out to the $300 million a year, just shipping them back and forth. When if they were in community, right there, community jails like Brooklyn has. Brooklyn has a house of detention, which is a 10-minute walk from the courts. So that means the young people are near their families and they're near their lawyers. Everybody should have what Brooklyn has. We should all have the right to visit our kids and not have to take off, a whole day of work to do so.
I want to speak about talking about kids. We know that the governor has his plan talking about raise the age and what's coming out of Albany right now. A lot of concern, a lot of questions. I know you have some specific thoughts when it comes to the raise the age requirement.
Well, when it comes to the age, raise the age requirement, what are we talking about? What's now being proposed is, okay, let's raise the age. Let's say that the age of adulthood and charging them as adults is the age of 18 as opposed to the age of 16 that now currently exists. But hey, let's leave out those with violent crimes. Are we saying that the city should run amok? No, but if we're saying that a young person is still growing and they're still maturing, let's treat them as children. Let's treat them as someone who still needs to be taught, someone that still needs to be nurtured, someone who is still developing. Let's not say, hey, you're 16 and there was a fight or you assaulted someone, you are now an adult and we're going to treat you like an adult.
And we need to understand that in New York City, you could be with a group of people where the person 20 feet away from you assaults somebody, and you happen to have a razor blade in your shoe, and now you're under arrest for it was like you have an intent to do a violent crime. That's considered a violent crime. You never touch the person, but you have a razor blade on you for your own whatever. Right. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I really think this whole idea of violent crimes is just to appease the upstate legislators. And I really speak to these upstate legislators that they need to understand that they are seeking to build their upstate economies on the backs of Black and Hispanic young people. Isn't it enough that that America was built on the backs of slaves, that we now have to continue to keep economies alive on our kids, their children? The only benefit you get by putting a child into an adult criminal system is an adult criminal. And unless you're sitting here banking on them being in jail so you can make money for the rest of your life, why would you want that? You want rehabilitation. And again, New York State, our governor is a Democrat. He's progressive, right? Why is it only 2 states? Texas doesn't treat 16-year-olds as adults. Aren't we ashamed?
But New York and North Carolina does. Right. It's amazing that we're lumped with a southern state as we say, hey, we're progressive New York, we're caring New York, we're all inclusive New York. It doesn't appear that everyone is being included as this conversation is being considered.
So what's the work that's being done? I know there's a lot of work that's being done. Talk about, and you guys have boots on the ground. Talk about reducing this youth incarceration. What's being done and what can people pay attention to in terms of reducing youth incarceration? We
really believe in employment. We believe that you need to address the here and now. Young people need jobs, so we have a very strong employment arm. We were here last week to talk about our job fair, and actually BronxNet came out to the job fair. We had about 200 people there and a lot of employers. They took a lot of resumes. We believe that one of the benefits, the reason why we're seeing a safer city is that New York is employing, right? But we also need to hold systems accountable. If things like the broken windows policy is arresting people in minority communities for stupidity like jaywalking, right? Then we have to ask ourselves, maybe the policy has to be changed. If upstate New York is not, if the state budget is not giving New York City its due for public schools, like there's a lawsuit, like an equality lawsuit, that basically for over a decade, the budget owes New York City money for our public schools. We're not getting it. Well, if we're not getting it, maybe that's one of the reasons why our public schools are not doing well and our kids are not learning. So we believe in addressing the here and now, addressing young people's needs, why they're involved in juvenile justice, but also we need to challenge the systems of New York City to be just, to be righteous. And I don't understand why the state and our wonderful Democratic governor can't get the public schools their money.
So let's address education and let's address employment, because obviously a young person that's educated, that's reading and writing and doing arithmetic can get a better job, can better support the family. And for a lot of our young Black and Hispanic males, finances are a major issue, and many feel compelled to assist their families in a city where rent and rent that's affordable housing.
And when we talk about youth, obviously pouring into them and the ability to provide leadership. I know that's one of the things that we also talk about too, creating those leadership opportunities for youth as an alternative to incarceration. And I got about a minute left. So
well, one of the things that we really believe is that each one can reach one. So anyone out there, if you are an example of someone who has been through hell, but you are making it now, reach somebody, share your life story and pull them up.
And we're always interested in receiving mentors. We have a great vetting system, but we are interested in mentors who maybe have hit some bumps in the road, maybe even mentors that coming up. That's right, they were incarcerated, they weren't the best students. Sometimes those are the best teachers, and they can pour out themselves and be very transparent and inspire young people who are in the midst of their own getting over some hurdles.
Tara Brown-Arnell, and Reverend Wendy Calderon Payne, Director of Bronx Connect. We thank you guys so much for coming and sharing with us. Of course, the information is at the bottom of the screen that you had in the segment, so if you want to find out more, connect with them or connect with Bronx Connect, go ahead and do that. Thank you both for
Thank
coming
you.
and sharing
Find us
with
on Facebook.
Okay, well, make sure they do that too, and we've got that information as well. Listen, taking another break, we'll be back with more shows. Stay with us. We'll be right back in just a few seconds.